Hey, it's Jeffrey Pepper Rogers back with another episode of Guitar Sessions. And the topic for today, the Jason Mraz song, I'm Yours. A huge hit from his 2008 album, We Sing, We Dance, We Steal Things. And I'm going to show you 3 ways to play the song. First, the way that he initially played it for a number of years after the album came out in standard tuning. And then the way that he rearranged the song in an alternate tuning in order to play some of the riffs and some of the melody along with the rhythm. And finally, I'm going to show you a way that you can, in standard tuning, do a lot of those riffs also. So 3 takes on the same song here, and let's get started. So I'm Yours is in the key of B. That's the key that the studio version sounds in. And the way that he started off playing it is mostly you'll see in live versions for about the first 10 years or so, playing it with the capo at the 2nd fret. A shapes will give you the key of B with a capo at the 2nd fret, although he's mostly playing bar chords, so in a certain way you could do without the capo entirely and just play closed chords, play bar chords. But let me run through the chord shapes used in this version of the song. You got a few different options for some of them. A real simple song. It's most of it is just 4 chords. There is a 5th chord and then some inversions that are used in there that sometimes are glossed over when people put this up on the internet. But it's a 1-5-6-4, the same classic chord progression that's celebrated, or whatever the word is for it, in that Axis of Awesome video called 4 Chords. So in the key with A fingerings, we're talking about A is the 1, E is the 5, F sharp minor is the 6, and D is the 4. But the way that he would play this in standard tuning, capo 2, is with a lot of bar chords. So rather than playing that open A shape, got the bar chord here, 5 frets above the capo. And then we go to the 5. This would be the bar chord version of it, 7 frets above the capo. And of course that is an E shape. And with that capo on the 2nd fret, we can also play that down here in open position. So there's our 1, 5, 6, F sharp minor, and then if I'm going to continue on bar chords, there's my D up at the 5th fret. So of course you could play a regular D down here. So you could navigate this progression in a bunch of different ways. Your F sharp minor is not only down here at the 2nd fret above the capo, but it's up here as well. So let me just play through this progression a few times, different ways. 5, 6, 4. Now I'm going to use some of those open shapes. So you might have noticed when I'm going from that bar chord down to an E, down open, I like to just keep these fingers all in that same shape and just slide it down. So make an E without using my index finger down there, and then I can go and walk that bass up to the F sharp shape. So there is one other chord that pops up in the verse along with those 4, and that is the 2 chord. So if we're talking key of A shapes, it is actually a B7 over D sharp. And the way that he actually plays it is interesting. You'll see this in a bunch of live versions. It's only the 5th, 3rd, and 2nd strings, and these two are in an octave. So he plays it kind of like this, coming off of the 4, kind of hitting it and falling off like that. So it might seem strange to call that a B chord, because the root is not actually in that voicing at all. Only playing the 3rd and the flat 7 in there. But in context, it's definitely registering as a 2 chord, an inversion of the 2 chord there. But that's the way that he does it in that shape right there. And that takes you through the verses. And then there's just one other section in this song, which is the bridge, that uses the same chords, but there's an important little inversion here. So start off on that A shape, the 1 chord, but then when it goes to the 5, I'm going to actually use this, which is again, I'm given these chord names in relation to the capo, but an E over G sharp here. And so think of this as like I'm really playing a C, like an open C shape moved up. But then I'm playing that bass note on the 6th string on the 4th fret. Might seem like a little bit of an awkward fingering, but the point of it is to have this descending bass line on the bridge. So that was the 1, and then moving down to the 5, but with that G sharp in the bass. Down to the 6 and down to the 5. And then I'm back at that 4 chord again, and there's that 2 chord to wind it up. That's the B7 over D sharp. So if you find this fingering to be difficult to wrap your fingers around, there is also this version of it, which you might find a little friendlier. You can go so there, that's a nice, useful, movable shape also. So those are the shapes as he played that song for many years, I think more than a decade. And one note about the rhythm too. So playing those 2 and 4, the backbeats, and also muting those chords really quick by letting go with my fingers rather than having them ring out. So that, helps to give this song kind of bounce. It's like a reggae style. And this is one of the reasons why you would might choose to use a bar chord even when you could play an open chord, is because bar chords make it so easy to mute a chord really fast. You just let go of your fingers and all the strings stop. You can still do that on an open chord shape, but then you got to use your fingers to kind of lay down on the open strings so you stop everything ringing, and it just takes a little bit more work to create a really tight, muted kind of staccato sound like that. All right, so now comes take 2 on I'm Yours. And interesting story, Jason Mraz actually saw a cover of his song by a very young YouTuber from South Korea. Played the song fingerstyle instrumental arrangement with all the riffs and the melody. Nicely done. And Jason Mraz was inspired and rearranged the song, kind of adopting the basic shapes from that arrangement. And it's in an alternate tuning, and kind of an unusual alternate tuning, where you take your bottom 3 strings and tune all of them down a whole step as uncapoed. Let's see, I'll just take the capo off here now. So my top 3 strings, E, B, G as usual, but my 4th string is at C, 5th string is at G, and 6th string is at D. And then this time I'm going to capo at the 4th fret. And so now we're using a different set of shapes, and of course they're different yet again because of the alternate tuning. So now my 1 chord is like this. And you can see those shapes there. All the notation for this lesson, all the shapes, all these versions you can find over on Patreon for handy reference to download. But there's the 1 chord now. And then the 5, it's got this big bar. The 6. The shape is kind of like an F sharp minor, but leaving the top 3 strings open. And then our 4, this is a bit of a stretch. This is the shape. It's actually kind of hard to get my fingers in a way to reach over. That takes some getting used to. So that is our 4 chord shape. Where it's like you've taken a C shape and you've stretched it way out. You've moved the lower fretted notes up 2 frets to compensate for the tuning. So there are the main 4 chord shapes. So, but here's the reason why he wanted to play it this way, because you can go. You can slide up on those top 2 notes to play the riff. See, I'm fumbling over going to that shape there. It's kind of a hard one to reach. You can find the tab for this over on Patreon, but there's the riff. Going to the 5. So that was a way that Jason Mraz could play the rhythm and add in that riff at the same time. But let me show you how the rest of the shapes of that go. So you'll remember from the last arrangement, we went from the 4 to that 2. This is also a stretch. That's on the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings. That's when that 2 chord comes in at the end of the 2nd verse. And then just to run through the bridge shapes, we start off on that 1, and then so we go 1, we keep that bass going down, and then we have our 4, and that 2 chord again. Here's the bridge now. And there is your version of it in that alternate tuning, and which Jason Mraz has continued to use. And you do have a lot of melody options available to you, not just to play that opening riff, but to play other little bits of the melody as you go along. All right, so now that brings me to version number 3, because actually a lot of the melodic things and the riff that alternate tuning kind of opens up, you can actually do in standard tuning as well, in a very similar way, and also for me a much easier way, paired with some of those real stretch fingerings. But so I'm back in standard tuning, but I'm keeping my capo at the 4th fret, and to play in the key of B, I'm using G shapes here. So now my chords are G, D, E minor, and C, and then there's that the 2 chord is an A7 over C sharp. So this is the way a lot of people play the song because it's real easy. We're using key of G shapes like this. So let me just run through those shapes. Just using open chords right now. 5, 6, of course you could use the bar chords because those are going to be unaffected by where you got the capo, but it totally works to use open chord shapes up here. But if you want to get a little bit of that percussion, that muted sound, you just gotta get used to laying your fingers, your fretting fingers down to cut off the ringing of those strings, so you get that little bit of bounce. And if you watch my fingers there, you see I'm kind of, whatever finger is free, I'm kind of using that to lay down across the open strings to stop them from ringing, to get that muting happening. So here's where it goes to the 2. So right there, I'm just using that fingering, those 3 strings, that works great. Can also use that fingering that we started off with, that he uses. Also unaffected by where the capo is, so you can play it that way for the 2 chord. And then when you get to the bridge, it's also real easy in this position because we're starting from a G, and then you can go to this D over F sharp, a nice kind of easy fingering, E minor, D, so once again, now I'll use the other way. And there you go in standard tuning here, capo 4. So the riff though. So there it is. This is actually, the top strings were not detuned in the alternate tuning, so it's actually the same as in the last one. But now I gotta hold down these bass notes to play that rhythm. The riff just by itself. But totally works to do that and just play a little rhythm in between those riff lines. Last time. All right, so there you go, 3 takes on I'm Yours. Lots of other ways you could play it too. Always fun to try out with songs different capo positions, different tunings, ways to approach it. They tend to unlock other kinds of things that you can do more easily in certain positions, and you can find which one really suits you the best. So have fun with the song, and check out the notation over on Patreon for all the guitar sessions lessons. And thank you for watching. Catch you next time.